All right, welcome. So apparently, this is my first podcast ever. I was just walking around the lake with Ryan. We're just talking about life, and this is like for me, it's so fun. We're here in Thailand, in Pai, Thailand. We're here at a 7-day retreat, and just talking about life issues. And I guess it just sparked a why don't we do a podcast? And here we are in like what 30 minutes later, an hour later.
An hour later.
Yeah, an hour later.
Shooting an episode.
Yeah, an hour later, we're already recording our first episode. But really, I wanted to bridge my two worlds of mental health along with Buddhism. But Ryan is an active participant. Dude, you're smart.
What are you talking
Ryan
about, man?
is freaking smart.
Never even finished college.
Yeah, smart as in like he knows so much about Buddhism. He knows so much about life. But I wanted just to open a conversation, again, to bridge mental health and Buddhism. A lot of people are struggling out there. A lot of people are dealing with life issues. And for me, let's bring it to the table.
Right.
My thing that gets me so excited for some reason is just people's journeys, suffering that they go through, things that are heavy for them. And two, let's talk about how do we make that better, or how do we find these answers, because they're all similar. Everyone goes through this and the details are different, but same human experience. But introduce yourself, where you at, anything you want to share, but
Okay.
there's no format.
All right. Well. Yeah. I mean, you've known me for a couple years.
Yeah.
Couple years now.
Right.
And you've seen me go through like two or three different jobs already, right? Yeah. So I have I've recently become more economically and financially stable and valuable, but I had a lot of troubles. I think with my dad passing away several years ago. Just to introduce myself to all the listeners, I've practiced meditation since I was 19. 17, but took it seriously at age 19. Practiced Zen Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, many different kinds of meditation techniques. So I've gone to Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, meditated in a lot of different places, and I've just undergone a lot of training. And one of the things that I want to ask Venerable Nick here about is the relationship between meditation and dealing with our emotions. Because I just had a conversation with someone literally 10 minutes ago. She was saying that I've done meditation for a long time. I've been a practitioner for a long time, and I've found that the meditation actually, she said she still felt that negative emotions, like the inability to let go of certain things or to be angry at someone for a long period of time, that has not been transformed by 7 years of meditation practice.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people, I experienced this same thing. Like, meditation did not help me dealing with the loss of my father. It actually made dealing with the loss of my father a lot worse. So I want to hear what your thoughts on this are, like, because there tends to be an attitude, at least in this culture and in this area, to suppress our feelings. And even though we're practicing Dhamma, we're practicing meditation and purifying our minds, it seems that there's a tendency to really suppress, put aside, or push through our negative feelings instead of actually being able to sit with them and explore them and express them.
Yeah. And for me, I think two things come up. One is when you meditate, I think it heightens the experience simply because you have to sit through them. Like we were talking about earlier, where when you're in meditation, you can't run, you can't hide, you can't use all these different coping skills, you can't call a friend, you can't use a lifeline, you know what I mean? It's really, I have to sit, I have to close my eyes. Things will start to fall down, things will start to settle, and when things settle, then what happens? Things start to bubble up. So emotions start to come, and they're raw. They're very raw of pain, suffering, and I think that's where wisdom arises. And you get to experience of what is the purpose of life? My dad died. Where did he go? what happens next? So just these deeper, raw emotions, these deeper wounds start to appear. So one, that's why we feel them so much. And secondly, this is the thing that I've been exploring since I've been in Thailand, is I feel like there's such a big disconnect between meditation and the world.
Right.
And the disconnect for me is because people are not pulling out the wisdom from your meditation and then pull it and start applying it. But everyone goes into meditation, they feel great for that 1 hour, it feels relaxing, and then they're done. 2 seconds later, someone can say something and they're already out of it.
Right.
But really, using meditation as an observation tool to look at yourself, where is it that I'm suffering in? What areas do I need to take care of myself in? And when you meditate correctly, answers will appear. Ryan, stop doing that. Leave your friends. Leave this relationship. Leave. But the issue is we don't know how to train ourselves and haven't been able to start applying these things to our real life.
Right.
But practice small. Practice small, because these things are big things. You're talking about death of a father. But slowly start implementing, changing your health, learning how to show up on time, learning how to keep your word, learning how to see areas that you need to, your old and bad habits, stop them, change them right now. Observe where you're irritable. Observe who, when you're around, they're not good friends. Leave them. But I think we have this tendency where we go into meditation, it feels great, but then we don't do anything with it. And it's a disconnect. Then I go into my real world, I work,
Right.
and then I don't meditate. Well, put the two worlds together, and that is the peace, and that's why I'm so excited moving forward, because I think we're at this new phase in our evolution where the two worlds are merging. You don't have to be a Buddhist monk to meditate.
Right.
You don't have to only live in the physical world, and now they're merging for the first time, and we need to learn how to pull the wisdom and really take that out and apply them in everyday life. Otherwise, why are we doing this? Yeah, and that's kind of the missing piece. So I do have a question for you. What are you after? If you're searching for Buddhism, if you're searching for, I don't know what you're searching, what are you looking for?
I'm not looking for, like, the answers the questions that I used to ask that kept me going in the beginning, like, is there life after death? Is there something that will leave this physical body at the moment of death, right? Or do angels or devas exist? Do other types of beings exist? These things that actually sparked my interest in Buddhism in the beginning, I've answered these questions.
Okay.
Like through my meditative experiences and through training in different ways. Those questions are irrelevant to me now because I don't have doubt about the answers. I've repeatedly experienced the results of certain things. So it's actually not that I'm looking for something anymore. It's more like I've came here to Thailand because now I'm able to put myself in an environment where I can be more still and seclude myself from distractions.
Right.
But it's not actually like I'm looking for those past experiences that I had in the beginning or anything like that, or even supernatural experiences. I'm not looking for any of those things. I've had my due time with them and I'm past it. I'm really just more in a place of being and like refining my practice. Now I'm really at a point where I'm seeing that the lesson, in different phases of our life, there's different lessons. I'm seeing the lessons now, which are like, dude, you got to fix these certain character flaws or these certain qualities about yourself.
Give us some examples.
That's actually the thing that is more prominent now as opposed to like looking for something or whatever, right? So the character flaws, for example, I'm actually not ever late when it comes to work. Work, I'm like almost always on time, right? But situations with people or like friends or whatever. When you said, get more punctual, that was accurate. Like I've shown up late to hang out with friends like many times.
Why?
Usually something else came up or like I just lack of planning is usually the reason. Like not foreseeing that you double booked Or like if you don't use a calendar, it's easy to actually like double book things. Like you say you're gonna meet two different people at the same time, and then you realize like at that day, like, oh crap, I have to reschedule. Yeah, so that comes from that. The root of that is a lack of planning and a lack of actually like seeing into the future and calculating things. And if I've always been the kind of person that was not very calculative.
Right.
Like I can learn a lot of stuff and have lots of discussions, but to actually like, you know, to get from point A to point B, how many steps is that going to take? How am I going to get to step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to point B? I'm the kind of person that's just like, okay, I'm at point A, and then I just somehow end up at point B, right? But it's not. That's not a sustainable way to run your life, right? So that's one of the lessons that I'm being taught right now. Not in the sense that like I need to have a 5-year plan or like a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan or whatever, but just to have a little more direction,
right?
And a little bit of a better idea of where to take things as opposed to just being so.
But it's interesting because you can show up on time.
I'll show up on time.
Yeah, you do it when you want to.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you just kind of pick and choose.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because with friends there's leg room. Like you have the ability to not show up on time because it's like they're your friends or associates or whatever, right? But when you don't have a choice, of course you're gonna show up on time. That's why like I came to Thailand because I shouldn't even use the word regular life, right? But I'm just saying that back in the States where I'm working or whatever, it's easier to not meditate. Right? But when I'm here in Thailand and I put myself in an environment, like the best spiritual environment for me, or the most focused environment, is to actually throw me in a silent monastery where no one talks.
Right.
That is when my mindfulness and my presence gets the strongest. But that's because the environment literally forces me into that situation. And because there's so many restraints, because I have to adhere to the schedule, there's a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah.
Outside of that.
So then how do you fix this? Because this is the struggle of everyone, where when it comes to exercise, unless I have a trainer, unless I'm in Bali at a retreat, then I can't. You always need an external thing. What is the answer?
I think one of them is to be involved with a group and have accountability. Of course you could have the self-discipline to do it, right? But I'm going to be honest, like, I don't have the self-discipline to do it. So a lot of people don't have the self-discipline to do it, whether it's with meditation or with working out. But if you get involved with the group and you're expected to show up, it's different. Right. You know, if you guys put money in a safe that says, yo, if you don't come to the gym 5 times this week, I'm keeping your $200. Yeah. Like that's incentive to actually go. Right. So I'm not saying for meditation it should be that extreme. But I'm saying being involved with a group of serious practitioners like you, it really helps. Right. It makes it more consistent.
Okay. So since now we're talking about earlier, where pulling out the wisdom from meditation to realize, how does meditation apply to, let's use this simple analogy of, I just want to be able to show up on time or fix that bad habit. How does that translate? How does that work?
We should both answer this question. Okay. Yeah, because I think this is a great question. Yeah. So I think one of the lessons that I'm learning and I have learned from meditation is the capacity to stop negative things that you're doing, and then the capacity to prioritize. So with meditation, one of the skills is that you're able to put aside all your distractions and be more one-pointed. So it's like now that there was a period of time where I was late for everything, even work, like way back in the day, when I was like 16, 17, right? I was even late for work back then. Yeah. So being able to be present and mindful actually helped with that. So now it's not a matter of being late all the time. It's a matter of being picky. Right? It's like selective virtue. Yes, so that's the miracle for you. Yeah, exactly. Pick and choose, Yeah. So what's your take on that question?
For me, the thing that is lacking for a lot of people is the discipline. And for me, how meditation applies to our habits is the act of meditation alone and keeping a schedule trains us. For me, there are days, no joke, I do not want to sit there. As a monk, 4 times a day. Come on now. 1 hour to 1 hour and a half a day.
Your legs are hurting.
My legs are.
It's
We
hot.
just did that. We just did that like 2 hours ago. And now we're going to do it again. And then not only are we doing it again a second time, we're doing it a third time.
And
then we're doing a fourth time. And then tomorrow we do the same thing. Yesterday we did the same thing. And the rest of my time here, we are doing the same thing every day. And that act alone of I don't care what you're experiencing, show up to meditation on time, sit down, close your eyes, stay. That's it. That's the discipline practice that for me translates to everything else. And then it just gives you a discipline where I was sharing with you earlier. People make like these big plans, 5 years, 10 years. Well, you're not going to keep them. Let's keep it real. But for me, I don't make those plans. I'm not telling people don't make it, but make them. But for me, I don't make them. But what's more important to me is I know how to keep my word. When I say I'm going to do something, I follow through. Earlier, just a couple hours ago, I said I'm going to do a podcast. Hello, an hour later, we're here, we're sitting. And I know how to follow through, and that's how discipline shows up for me. And I just sit down. I don't care what kind of experiences I'm having, but just training myself to, I don't care what's happening in your outside world, sit down. And here's a big one. If you can't guide yourself, everyone wants to start a meditation practice. They're like, I'm going to do 3 minutes a day. Okay, cool. I don't care how many minutes you're doing. Let's pick one. 3 minutes a day. And you can't even do that. You can't guide yourself to sit down and close your eyes for 3 whole minutes. That's what, 180 seconds?
Dude, that's a long time for some people.
I know. Even if you said 60 seconds and you can't even do that, you can't even keep that word,
you're done.
Go away.
No chances.
Go away.
So this is my thought, and I'm going to express my suspicion here that you did not become a consistent person by ordaining as a monk. I'm pretty certain that you've been consistent for a very, very long time. That's just your personality type.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So could you tell me where that came from in you?
Yeah, where that came from for me was a lot of suffering. That's it. It's straight suffering. I know that when I pick and choose what applies to me, I'm going to suffer more. And in America, I think we have this tendency of picking and choosing spiritual truths, picking when it's convenient for me. You know, if we know that we should apologize and be kind, well, I kind of pick when it's relevant to me. And sometimes this guy's a jerk and I don't want to. We just make up our own rules, we make up our own things. And for me, I find that I suffer a lot.
Because of that?
Because of that. Because I'm sloppy. And then it kind of catches up to me. And now I realize, you know what? This cycle of suffering, I need to get out. And how do I get out? And really is I need to really change my habits. And really the prescription from the Buddha, from Buddhism, is to take your medication. Don't take half. Don't take half. But if they say meditate, you meditate. You sit. You close your eyes. Right. But again, people want to pick and choose, but the answers are all there. The answers are all there, but we're not consistent and we're not disciplined. But take your time. And the way I started, 1 was a lot of suffering, and 2 was training myself in little ways. I'll just use meditation as an example. Was I started 5 minutes a day. That's it. 5 minutes. And I did that for a whole year. Not a single day did I miss it. Some days I would go to sleep and I'm like, oh my God, it's 2 a.m. I forgot to meditate. I roll out of bed. I don't care what kind of experience, but just the act of learning how to keep my word, that alone changed my whole life. Pick one thing, keep your word. It takes a long time. Not 4 months, not 4 weeks, but can you do something for the rest of your life? That's what it means by discipline. Keep your word.
Can you do something for the rest of your life?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yep, it's a lifestyle. We say these kind of things, and we say it so lightly. Oh, it's a lifestyle, fit fam, and motivation, and blah, blah, blah. But if you really say it's a lifestyle, can you keep it?
Right.
A lifestyle for me is, you know what? I cut out drinking.
Sure.
Yeah, for the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yes, I meditate now every day for the rest of my life.
Right.
But that's a lifestyle. Not because it's 2019 and it's a trend and everyone's doing it, I can hashtag it. But really, can you have, and let me ask you, what's one thing that you will keep for the rest of your life? What's one habit, one discipline?
And brushing my teeth is one.
Okay.
I think that one is
Yes.
is essential. But no, meditation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love meditation.
But
Absolutely.
it sounds simple and we're laughing about it, but that's true. It's you have to pick something like brushing your teeth and keep it. As tiny as it is, and the more you start to do that, the more you can endure for long term, then you're practicing discipline.
You go from brushing it for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
then brushing for 10 minutes, 15 minutes brushing.
Same thing with showering. The physical body, it doesn't matter if you're having a good day, bad day, relationship problem, you still shower. You made that conscious choice. Now you made a conscious choice every day, regardless of what's happening. I'm going to shower my mind. Now start adding things. Okay, moving forward, am I just a good person? If someone shares a secret with me, can I, for the rest of my life, have a red line where I will not ever share that? I know how to keep my word. And for me, if someone now says, please keep this as a secret, I will not share. It's going to my grave. But start slowly adding these kind of things to your life. The picking and choosing, again, it comes back. It comes back. Kind of like working out. I'm fit this one summer and then I'm chubby again. Yeah, because it's convenient.
Right.
But we kind of want to pick and choose, but keep it. Keep it. You're thinking now. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking what I specifically pick and choose about, because when I think about any obstacles or issues that I have, I've cleared up a bunch of them, especially concerning work. Like I'm okay with that now.
Yeah. Let me ask you a different question. A lot of people are struggling with this, but for you, you've always pursued kind of like the spiritual world.
Oh yeah,
self-development.
I think to a fault.
Yes.
To an extent.
How then do you balance? Now you're in Thailand. We're here on the 7-day retreat. Moving forward, what does that look like? With work, with spiritual life,
There's no separation in reality. The only separation that exists is the one in your mind. Mm-hmm. So, like we have this idea. See, this is how it works. Like you have your practice and your spiritual interest, right? And then you have your job or your relationships or whatever. And you get this idea somehow that because they look different, they're separate.
Right.
And because they feel different, they're separate.
Right.
But the truth is the mindfulness that you're cultivating in meditation on the cushion is the same mindfulness that you're attempting to apply and actually make a part of your daily life, right? Mm-hmm. So the separation, it's really an illusion. Like if you're doing something that you love and you're doing something that you're passionate about, and you're doing something you feel like you're providing value to your society and to other people, you shouldn't really feel like there's a separation.
Yeah.
The separation is because you have preferences. You want things to be a certain way in the spiritual dimension, and you want that to be the same way in your worldly life.
Right.
And the point is, these are both preferences, and either way, preferences are illusory.
Right. See, I told you he was smart. Okay, so now help the viewers, because you're in a lucky place. Again, you're here in Thailand. You get to have these experiences, and you have so much wisdom and knowledge. 3 things. What have you learned about yourself, about life? Like pull out wisdom on your journey that you can give to the viewers.
Wow.
Yeah. Drop some knowledge.
I think one of the big lessons, and I'm sure you completely have your mind on this one, is like when it comes to meditation, like get the hell out of the way. Get out of the way.
Explain.
It's like when we sit down and we meditate, we have this whole, at least for me in the past, it's like because I studied all the Buddhist scriptures.
Right.
It's like jhana,
You're
vipassana, stages of insight, Tao, all this stuff, right? So you're sitting in meditation and you're like, oh, like, am I gonna attain jhana? Like, you're never gonna get there if you're thinking that sort of thing. If you're actually like ruminating on the theoretical stuff while you're meditating, forget about it.
Right.
Because when you're meditating, you're just supposed to be meditating and having the mind return to its natural, still, original state. It has nothing to do with conceptions and ideas.
Yeah.
At least when you're in the session and when you're actually purifying the mind.
The other day you mentioned something about the illumination, that it's already there. Remember that? Can you explain that? That was really cool. Like, what is that concept?
It's this idea. You mean illumination, like brightness or luminosity?
Like you said it's already in there.
Right. Okay. So there's this. This is a big. This is a second one of the other knowledges that I wanted to bring up. So you just brought it up perfectly. Nice. We have this idea that when we become spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual people, or we start to embark on this journey, that the experiences that we're seeking are actually like, we feel like it's we tend to compare it to actually like working out and like making your biceps like twice as big, right? Okay. Like you think you're actually getting brightness. You think you're attaining, right? That your efforts are causing brightness to arise, right? The truth is that the mind is already bright, but that your deluded, defiled, distracted mind that's what's actually dark. So it's not that you actually achieve luminosity, it's that you dispel darkness. And then the original luminosity that has always been there finally becomes apparent and manifest. So meditation is actually, it's cleaning. Like, imagine it's a crystal sphere that's in mud. That's like what we're all like, right? And meditation is polishing, cleaning until it's completely clean. And then you see, the mind was perfected from the start. Right. It was already happy. Right. Like when we were children, we were already happy. Yeah. It's only now, with all the experiences and wants that we have, that
the desires,
that purity has been covered up. Yeah. So like now when I meditate, I'm just being at the center, right? And there's luminosity, there's brightness. Yeah. Sometimes brighter flashes, sometimes, it varies. But the point is that brightness was not something that we call it attainments because we look at things linearly. Right. But it's actually it's actually a returning. When you're meditating, you're letting the mind settle. You're not making the mind still. Right. You're allowing the mind to return to its pure and original nature by being still.
Beast. Yeah. So smart. Okay, thank you. Okay, now a third one. Now not just concepts, but again, on this spiritual path, on your personal journey, what have you learned? Wisdom that you can pull out and help anyone that is listening.
I think one of the mistakes, as maybe, I don't know if this applies to everybody, but definitely for me, when you get into a spiritual practice, there's certain principles in that practice, whatever path it is that you take, and different paths have different principles. So like Buddhism, for example, ahimsa is a big principle, which means non-harming, or like loving kindness, being a forgiving person. A lot of these positive qualities are preached about from the start. Like, you gotta, this is how you have to be like this, right? So, and you practice meditation so that you could purify yourself and become like that. This is the thought I had in the beginning. So it allowed me to develop unhealthy attitudes towards emotions, because I'm seeing, all these spiritual people, or like these things that I'm reading, and it's saying like, cut off anger, like cut off delusion, just like, destroy these things. But it doesn't actually tell you It says that realization or enlightenment destroys those things. But what about now?
Right.
Right? So it through assumption and through wrong thinking, I developed an attitude where it was like, oh, well, my mind's strong now. If I don't want to feel this depression, I don't have to, because I have the ability to divert my attention to something else,
Right.
because I've meditated for some time now. So like usually, for example, when someone loses a parent, at least where I'm from, they're sad for like several months after that. There's like a whole grieving thing that happens, You know about this.
That human thing, yeah.
It's a human thing, yeah. The grieving process, right? It's like there's like 7 steps or 8, I don't know how many steps there are in it, because I never looked into it. But the point
It
is,
apply to you.
the point is, it's a grieving process, right? And one of the kind of like illnesses that I developed, because of this whole thing was, it's like delayed onset of emotional problems, or like delayed onset of negative emotions, or there's a term for it that's popular. It's called spiritual bypassing.
Oh, wow.
You take your problems,
Yeah.
and all the things that have happened to you as a kid, and like negative things that are arising in the present, and you focus on your spiritual practice as a way to avoid dealing with those things. Like you have the complete opposite approach, which is like you use your spirituality to deal with your problems. A lot of people use their spirituality to seriously get away from their problems.
Right.
It's not like forget about dealing with them.
Right.
Like, why am I going to deal with it when I can just get away from it?
Right. I
Right.
go towards, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a serious issue, because I see so many, and I've been through it, where like, you meditate, you do some spiritual practice, and suddenly you think like the rules of like ordinary people and the way that they go about things like doesn't necessarily need to apply to you anymore.
Awesome.
Like, oh yeah, they're grieving. They're gonna be sad for 6 months about this thing. I'll be sad for a week. And you have this just absurd thinking. And anyways, like for example, when my dad passed away, I didn't cry for like 6 months.
Wow.
Like literally, I did not cry. I think I cried like once when I was waking up, because in the astral body, the emotions are more tangible.
But you were sad.
In the dreams.
I mean like in real life.
No!
Oh.
Exactly.
With your dad passing away?
Yeah. I was not sad. I was just like disconnected.
Like cut off.
Yeah, disconnected. Like the I guess the pain of losing him was so strong that the only way my mind was able to deal with it was just to not deal with it.
Right.
So like I just went through my life and like did regular, went to school, work, and whatever. And then suddenly after like 6 months, I realized that I started feeling really weak. Like I just didn't have the same energy. And a lot of friends brought it up to me actually. They're like, dude, you are not the same. Like your brightness, whatever you had, it's gone. Dude.
You became lifeless.
Yeah,
Like
I became just dead inside. And I couldn't, like, as much meditation as I had done, I think that if I hadn't, and I would never take back any of the meditation. I love the meditation more than anything. But I think that if I hadn't done that spiritual training, when he died, it would have just made me a complete disaster and an emotional mess immediately.
Right.
And I would have been in pain and felt pain, just like everyone else in my family. But because of the training I've been through, I had like a subconscious attitude that was like negative emotions. That's for other people. I don't need to deal with that. And I think that, I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but I've seen that recently. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't need to feel bad about that. I'll just cry about it once. It's like, no, it's not exactly a healthy way to approach a situation. So those are the three main points. The last one is like, when you get into spiritual practice, especially if you're reading all the texts, it's so easy to just like get this whole mystical orientation towards spiritual practice. And it's when you orient yourself towards the mystical, it's easy to become separated and disillusioned about the physical and the immediate.
Right. You can intellectualize it and then start tricking yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could think like, I don't have to deal with those things. You could think, it's funny when like true spirituality is about the dissolution of separateness, right?
Wow.
But
Right.
it's so easy to see that in so many spiritual people, especially me, like at time in the past, it's like your spirituality it makes you more separate
Right.
because you start
It's
to
an identity.
exactly you make an identity out of it. And the whole thing about wisdom and especially Buddhist meditation is
Yeah.
the dissolution of that.
Right. How long has it been since your dad died?
7 years.
And where are you now with it?
I mean, I spread merit to him as much as I can, and I really feel like I just feel so lucky that he was my dad. You know, and that like he shared the things that he shared with me, and like he had his faults, and you know he died much earlier than he was supposed to, but you know there's one experience I'll share with you and the listeners. I got caught shoplifting when I was 10 years old.
Of course.
Of course I did, right? Of course that's something I would do. Yeah, so I got caught shoplifting when I was 10, which is really early to get caught shoplifting. So, you know, I was in handcuffs and this loss prevention officer dragged me into his room. You know, he's totally grilling me and he's like, I'm gonna call your dad. And I was like, am I going to jail? He's like, maybe. It's like, I'm not gonna go to jail. It's ridiculous. I think he just wanted to teach me a lesson, you know? And so he's writing up this whole report on me, and I'm just like sitting in this dark room, and my dad's on the way to come get me, and my dad picks me up and you know takes me home, and it was mostly like a silent drive, and on the drive I was so afraid that he wasn't gonna love me anymore, that no one was gonna love me anymore because of doing this theft thing, you know. I'd been a kleptomaniac from like, I don't know, ages 6 to 10 or something like that. No, way longer than that. I didn't stop stealing completely until I was about like 16. So, but anyways, I wasn't crying yet though. And I remember we got out of the car, he took me straight to my room, and you know, he sat me down, or he like got on one knee and he looked at me and he said, did you think that no one was gonna love you anymore? And I just started you know. Wow. And he looked at me and he said, Ryan, no matter what you do, I'm always gonna love you. You know, and it was like that one little moment where he said that to me was worth the 20 years of pain that came afterwards. Wow. Everything that we all went through, you know, because of his issues. But that one tiny little just sliver in time was worth it.
Why?
Because it taught me that in the end it's love that keeps us together.
Yeah. But what was the difference between that statement versus everything else?
I guess it showed me that it was like my first, and I didn't realize this at the time, but like that was unconditional love.
Right.
Pure unconditional love.
Right.
And I think in our culture we have love if you're this certain way. It's like, I love you if A, B, and C. I love you if you act like this. I love you if you say these certain things to me. Right. And very, very rare would I say it's purely unconditional, at least in relationships. But that was that was unconditional love. And I know people that I have friends whose parents didn't love them like that. And I think the worst thing that you can do to a child is not love them and show them that. I literally think it's the worst thing you can do, is to not love your kids and to express that to them and to teach that to them. Yeah. Because that's how you get. I really believe that the psychopaths of the world, they just came from broken homes, and they didn't have people who cared about them and loved them.
Yeah, and for me, like when we talk about unconditional love, it's so powerful So powerful, and it's just one sentence that can shift your whole world.
Right.
When you experience it, that's just a tiny sliver. And imagine if we can live like that and we can practice like that every day, it would shift. And he died when you were how old?
19.
Yeah, 19 years. Look at what you were able to pull from that. And yet here we are in our daily lives, trying to take care of people financially, trying to do things for them. When, pull the example from your dad, one sentence, just a few words.
Damn. That's awesome.
Put in perspective.
Wow. Yeah, it's I found that you have to, there has to be time and intention to put your heart into your practice and into your day. You're right, it's so easy to be intellectual and get caught up in the mind and in thinking. I just spoke with a person who said, I meditate a lot, but I really need to make time for my emotions. Like I actually need to make time to look at situations internally and get in touch with my feelings.
Okay. But look at even that statement, I need to make time for my emotions. When were they separate?
That's true.
Like what? How did we put that?
I know.
In like a plastic bag and
That's
we
crazy.
put it on the
You're
side
right.
somewhere. Like again, you picked and choose. But again, everything comes back to wholeness. You can't just pick and choose, but let life take its course, and you, with meditation, with stillness, you address things as they come. This too shall pass. But we have this tendency of, okay, bad.
Well, do you think that people should make, like just in the way that certain people make time for, like I make time for meditation, right? Do you think that certain people that have a lot of emotional issues or like baggage or pain should actually make specific time for that? Like specific time to grieve?
Everyone is different, but again, use how you're designed. Because some people need to get out in nature. Some people need to do work. Some people need to exercise.
Talk to a therapist.
Some people need to talk to a therapist. Some people need to go to a retreat. But really, again, the skill, going back to the beginning, you have to know is how to observe. Observe yourself. In this moment, what do I need? And this is where, again, with applying meditation, every single time you sit down, it's a new experience. You're a new person. Use different techniques to get yourself still. Same thing, when things happen in your real life, then use different things. Go back to stillness, but honor each moment as they come.
I got a question for you. What do you think of this whole like nothing's wrong with you culture that is now becoming more and more popular in the States?
Explain that. What do you mean?
Like, personal development has, generally in personal development, you I guess try to improve your strengths and you try to correct your weaknesses, right? Mm-hmm. But I heard a pastor, for example, saying that there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to change. You're perfect the way you are. What do you think about that?
It's garbage. Yeah, I think it really is garbage. I think we diluted a lot of ourselves to make ourselves weaker. And we're just making it up. We want it more convenient versus let's toughen up, let's get to work, and it takes stamina, it takes endurance, and let's go. All of us have these very strong defilements within us, and we all need to do that work. So I think sometimes language, sometimes in our culture, we have a tendency to, again, pick and choose, kind of make things up, downplay it when, this is serious work. We need to get to work. We need to heal. Let's use the right words, not just coping.
Wow.
Actually heal.
There's even a trend in some of the Western Buddhist scene, this term called radical self-acceptance. Are you familiar with that at all? What do you think about that?
It's just different language. You can use all the language you want.
Like what's the difference between radical self-acceptance or self-acceptance and delusion?
Depends who you ask.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it depends who you ask. and the maturity of the mind. But for me, get out of these concepts, get out of these things. Go back to what you said earlier of the sentence your dad told you. You know, what was the sentence? That
No matter what you do, I'll always love you.
Yeah, go back to wholeness. Go back to unconditional love. When you have unconditional love, when you have radical self-acceptance, when you have whatever term you want to use it, the soul knows. You can't fool it. You can't fool it. When you experience unconditional love, when you touch it, every fiber of your being just heightens. It glows. It makes you light. It makes you pure. It will change every ounce of every cell of you. It's that powerful. And you just know. You don't need these extra. Don't make stuff up.
Right.
But really, when it comes to unconditional love, practice that for yourself. Be genuinely kind. Stop being so harsh. And that is one form of practicing. It's meditation. Sit. Close your eyes every day.
Right.
And be gentle. That's it. That's it. Throw any terms you want out there.
Anything else? Anything else you can think of?
Why are you asking me? Yeah, but for me, I'm just excited, like, to see your journey as it's unfolding.
Right.
You know, because we're still, you and I both are still trying to figure out, like everyone who is listening here, we all have our struggles, we all have our challenges, and what is important to pull out of this is just continue. Continue. Keep doing, keep working at it, chip every day, and what I've learned on my journey is happiness is just something you add, tiny ounce, just like an ounce, every day. Not too much. Slowly, diligently, consistently, just one more day, add an ounce of happiness. Okay, one more. Ounce of more brightness in myself, ounce of more love, not too much, not too little. And the rest, get out of the way, like you said. You have one job.
I've got a question on. I think we spoke about it before, but it'd be good for the listeners to hear. It's like just quickly reacting to things, or quickly. I'm not saying in situations where you like really blow up at somebody, but I mean where like you could just get a little irked and then your tone changes, and you know it's obvious that you're a little peeved, you're a little upset.
Yeah.
But that's not something that you carry out with you through your day. But how do you reduce your reactivity so that you're not saying things that hurt your, I guess, create bad feelings in your subordinates or even in people that you work with. Like when I used to work, at a specific firm, it was very common that if we did one little mistake, the boss is like just pissed off at you for a short period of time, and then he's totally over it. Right. But I noticed that I have that quality too. So it's not like I get upset for any longer than 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah. But for that 10 or 15 minutes, it's like, yeah, I don't feel good about that situation.
Right.
So what do you think about reducing that or eliminating specifically that reactivity?
Yeah, I'm glad you say eliminating, because reducing reactivity, again, what does that mean? I'm going to slow down and still have the ability to pick and choose when I'm reactive. You still keep a door open. But the question I would ask is, why? Why now? Like, why are you trying to do this? What are you trying to achieve?
I just don't think it's good for me to get upset and hurt other people's feelings, right? And outside, like in my friendships, that's not a thing. I never get upset with my friends. At work, that's not a thing. Definitely not a thing, right? So it's actually with very select, limited, like 2 people that happens with. Right.
What do you get out of it when you're reactive? It works for you. What happens?
It's not that anything is actually achieved.
Yeah, it is, because you're still doing it. What do you get out of it by being reactive?
I guess it's a way to express. It's like a blowback. Like that person said something to me, didn't feel good, boom, right back. That's what it is. Like, I rarely find myself like spontaneously getting upset. Actually, that doesn't happen. This is always a in relation to somebody else situation. So maybe, yeah, I guess it's a way to just, yeah, it's a way to fire back.
Yeah, it's a power thing.
A power thing.
Yes, it's a power thing. Your face, it's so funny. What is that?
I think, is it really a power thing? It might be.
Yes.
Huh. Yeah, it's like, you feel bad, you put me down, and then
Yeah.
react.
Right.
Oh. Huh. I guess the appropriate way to handle that is to not react.
Well, the appropriate way to look at it is, do you still choose to give away your power that easily?
I never even saw it as that, as giving away your power.
Oh, yeah. They can say something, and without you having any awareness, it's already out.
But see, that's fine. Like, I'm like, you can take my power. I don't care. I just wanted to make you feel bad.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, keep my power, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the second piece of, you want to punish someone. That's your way of, when they hurt you, then I need to retaliate and I need to punish you.
Okay, let's just say let's. I'm thinking of a specific example because I wanna get precise. I wanna get precise with this. Okay, this is good. So let's say that it's not even that. It's just like, let's say I was expected to show up to like the retreat at a specific time or whatever, and I was depending on someone for a ride, right? And person A and person B were not communicating clearly about who I should go with. Mm-hmm. And then I get blamed for not going with person A by person B. And I'm like, yo, this was like between you guys, not me, right? But I'm getting the slack for it. So I feel like how can you even get mad at me for this? This is not my fault, right? And out of that, like I'm being defensive, and I'm now in an argument.
Yeah.
So, but see, in that situation, I'm not really trying to hurt that person. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, dude, why are you upset at me? Like, you should not be upset at me over this. But immediately, just me having that reaction makes that person even more upset.
Yeah. You know what? This is the funny thing about Westerners. I don't know I didn't even hear a single thing you said. What are you asking? You have to know what you're asking, because everyone throws out so many different details. Go to the heart of it. Welcome to Buddhism 101. Go to the heart of it. What are you asking?
I'm saying that when it's a situation where I'm not being the judge, or I'm not trying to get back at that person, or I'm not trying to upset that person, or I'm not trying to one-up that person, if it's purely just being emotionally reactive, like defensive, and that upsets that person, I don't like, a part of me doesn't feel there's anything wrong with that. Like, if you're blaming me for a situation that I have nothing to do with, and it's really not my fault, why are you getting upset with me, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's an attitude, or there's the idea that I shouldn't, even that reaction I shouldn't have. But should I not have that reaction? Is it okay to have that reaction? Is it okay to be defensive? Or is it not?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
To be defensive.
Yeah, because I've gotten the impression from many people, and I've had the impression for a long time, that you can't be defensive, that you can't get upset, you can't get mad. That was my sickness. And now I've just jumped to the other extreme. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, and really feeling the emotion is okay, whatever that is, but it's how do you behave, what is the the behavior that comes as a result of it. And it's
Right.
tricky because it's different for every relationship. You know, abusive relationship, they have different standards of what is acceptable and what is not. Another
true.
relationship has a different standard, but it's in a relationship, it's the agreement between both parties. Forget the other person. What are you willing to put up with? You. Everyone is so concerned. This person did. I don't care what they did. Why do you put up with it? What are your standards? Do you know your standards?
Do you have standards?
Yeah, do you have standards? And do you know, for me, what is okay and not okay? What is crossing the line? And many people, they don't know that. Many people, because they want a relationship, nothing wrong with that, but then they start to compromise. They betray themselves. What are your standards? What do you want? And that is coming back to self-esteem and coming back with, will you sell yourself out for a relationship? Will you sell yourself out for love? Will you sell yourself out for companionship and love and money and all of that? But you have to know your worth and what you are willing to put up with.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because we can sit here, we can go detail by detail, but at the end of the day, it's why are you putting up with it? And two, what are your standards? There's no right or wrong, but you just have to decide what is our standard of care in this relationship. And you're half of that relationship, so yeah.
When you're asking what are your standards, and I'm like, what are my standards in that situation? I'm like,
Yeah, you don't know that.
I don't really have. I've never even thought of that.
Exactly. Welcome to the unconscious, and that's why.
Well, I think it's because it's a new relationship too. I think as time goes on,
I don't make excuses for it. Again, just with any relationship in life, you just have to have a personal standard of what is right, what is wrong, what am I willing to put up with, what am I not, and do I listen to gut intuition? Do I not? You know that.
I think it's because that person has never pushed my boundaries and standards.
Right.
I've never felt like I've never had the conversation about her with somebody else who's like, yo, this is just not, I just can't deal with this level.
And this is why you're still having this issue, because when you're talking, you're still saying her. When someone is talking about boundaries, you say mine. That's it. I don't care who I'm with. My standards, even with friends, you don't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then why doesn't it apply to a romantic relationship?
Well, it does, but I'm just saying
You just don't.
I haven't been. She's never done anything that.
Doesn't matter.
Actually. No, I guess when I really examine it, for sure, my boundaries have been pushed.
Yeah, and it's normal because
it's a relationship.
We want that, and we crave that. But at the same time, you gotta keep your foundation strong, and single, unsingle, start with you, and figure out. You're on a 7-day retreat. What are my standards for myself? What am I willing to put up with? And let's go to the core. Buddhism 101. What are my values? Let's start there. What are my values? And if you know your values, then you can start living by it. So everything for me is, now that I know my values, then I run it through this machine. Does it fit it? And if not, sorry, it doesn't honor me. You gotta go at any cost. At any cost. Because I've sold myself out many times, and I'm at a point where I can't do that anymore. I can't do short term versus long term. Yeah, it helps in the moment. It feels great, but at the end, I'm building a house on there's no foundation, and it's going to crash. So these are the things you have to explore for yourself. No right, no wrong answer, but just understand, if you really are serious about this and pursue your spiritual path, then figure out, do your work, write it down. What are my values? What do I value? What do I need to live by? And if you know what they are, then every decision, run it through this line. If it does not meet the criteria, I'm sorry. or we can pick and choose.
Yeah,
It's
well,
convenient.
I mean, if I was to really be honest with that, then I wouldn't be involved in any relationships, and I would just meditate all the time. But I don't feel like that's really realistic for me, because obviously I like relationships, right? Or I like having a person, at least for now. I don't know if I will in the future, but
Yeah, and welcome to Marriage Counseling 101 and the clients that I see where, we sell out at times to be in a relationship. Some people because they want the lifestyle, some people because whatever. But again, no right or wrong, but just know when you don't have a red line, when you don't have the values already established up front, then you're going to cross them easily. And the same thing, let's reference Buddhism. Welcome to the 5 precepts. Welcome to the 8 precepts. These are your guidelines. And if you want to cross them, you want to drink, drink. If you don't, don't. But these are the guidelines, and you need to have your own personal guidelines where you can manage yourself. But we don't have that.
no, definitely not.
Right.
That's a new concept.
And that's the work of how many precepts do you have for yourself? How many? We call them values, pick any terms, but it's just a guideline that you have for you to live. And 2, can you have the self-esteem? Can you have the stamina to keep them at any cost? Or do you kind of pick and choose because I'm a little bit lonely now, and I've done it.
Yeah,
Guilty.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Man, everyone's done it.
Yeah.
Compromise to get whatever it is that you feel you need.
Yeah, and there's short-term games, and then there's long-term game, but the truth is the truth. It will all come out. Yeah. So
It does all come out.
yeah. So to wrap all of this up, what do you get out of this? What is your takeaway? Pull anything from this conversation.
I think, for the situation that I'm in relationship wise, it's normal. Like how I'm feeling is normal.
Yeah.
It's like it's normal to feel this way, but what I'm getting from you is be more principled and valued focused and deliberate about certain things, and like what direction you want to take with that, and am I gonna get what I really want out of that, or is it just something that is convenient for me now? Is it something that I actually want in the long term, or is it something that just I only want for a certain period of time? And that's not really something I've asked myself up until this point.
Right. And it comes back to how disciplined do I want to be? Because you can be very strict, or you can kind of be loose and take things half-half, but it's up to you. Up to you. But just know with either lifestyle, there are consequences. When you're strict sometimes, well, you kind of can't go out. Sorry. You kind of can't drink. Sorry. Or if that's too strict for you, then do that, but be mindful and be conscious. In this moment, on a scale of 1 to 100, I want to be strictness 17. I want to do things because it feels great to me in this moment.
Right.
Or you see some people who are like, you know what, I want to go 80%. I don't want to be very strict, but everything has a consequence, not a bad thing, but just cause and effect. And you have to realize where I am now, kind of how strict do I want to be with that, and how much do I want to manage myself.
Wow.
Yeah. But no right or wrong answer. But we constantly have to come back to this question and reflect.
Yeah, how strict or deliberate do we want to be in every situation?
Yeah, because it involves a lifestyle change. The things we used to do that feels good or is convenient, well, if I make this shift, I can't no longer do that.
Right.
So that's what you have to decide. You know what to do, but it's just that choice of how disciplined do I want to be.
Yeah, how
How
serious.
much, and how
serious
much
do you wanna take
truth
it?
do I want to see? Comes back to that.
Right. Yeah, it's important, I guess, to distinguish between, is that what you really, really want, or is that just what feels good and what is convenient now?
Right. Yeah.
So, like, whether it's a job or a relationship or a certain direction you're taking in your life. And the thing I like about what you're saying is, if it is something that you only want for now, that's okay, but
Yes.
just be clear with that.
Yes. Truthful.
Yeah. Like if you only want that for 5 years and then after 5 years you don't know, you should be honest with that.
Right.
And be like, yeah, well, that's the truth of the situation.
Right. And a lot of people suffer because they play these mind games with themselves and they trick themselves in, or you can just speak truthfully. I just want to be a good person for 3 weeks while I'm on a retreat. Say that.
I think especially me, but I think it's common to have this like all or everything attitude.
Yeah.
Like it has to be either on that one end of the spectrum or the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. And this is why people are suffering so much. Everything is so black and white, so extreme. I live in physical world. I live in spiritual world. I'm gonna deal with my emotions. They're all the same. It all is together. It's wholeness. You cannot pick and choose. And when we pick and choose, we suffer. So it all comes back to the same place. And that's why meditation is so important. It teaches us everything's interrelated, whether you like it or not. That's just the reality.
Yeah, I think the final important point that you made is like stop making it about that other person. Mm-hmm. This is like a tendency, it's a habit to always like point at the person and saying, oh, they're making me feel this way. They're the reason for the situation.
Yeah, because if you remove that, then what happens?
You just have to be totally responsible.
Oh, new concept. New concept.
Personal responsibility. Getting back to basics. Rebuilding the culture, bro.
There it is. That is what it comes back down to.
Because it's like you're ultimately, you can't control other people. Mm-hmm. And
we can't even control ourselves. You can't even control yourself to sit down for 180 seconds.
Forget about controlling somebody else, right? Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Actually, outside of this conversation, like these last few days, I haven't, aside from the talks that I've had with you, I haven't thought about it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I haven't thought about it much at all. Just meditating, and then when I'm with you, I think of that situation, and I'm like, oh, Nick always has some good advice. Maybe Nick has some wisdom to tell me about this, and you just keep telling me, just turn back to yourself. It's about what can you do? What is it that you want?
And then let's again pull out wisdom from meditation to apply to your current situation. The one tip I always give you over and over since we've been here is what? Oh, you don't know, so I'm going to answer it. See, and with meditation, I always ask you, can you repeat it?
Oh yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So what that means is apply what you learn. Yes, on a retreat in these past 3 days, I have good habits. Okay. Can you repeat it?
Can you repeat it? Yeah.
Outside of here. That's the work. And that's how meditation translates into the real life. But, okay, yeah, you did it for 3 days. Here's a cookie. Great. We'll celebrate you. But for what?
That's why I gotta stay in Thailand for as long as I can. So that I could just have the habits and the consistency and the schedule really just like ingrained. Actually, even like back when I was back at home, like ever since September, I've had a great 6 months. Really.
Yeah.
So it's not until this obstacle has come up that like all these newfound insights and like new ways of dealing with it and new ways of looking at myself have become evident. Before this, I wouldn't have been having this conversation with you 4 months ago at all.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
No way.
And I'm grateful we're having this conversation.
People are gonna look back to this podcast episode in like 5 years or something and be like, "Yo, this teacher Ryan, this guy that people were talking about, listen to that podcast. Right. He's talking about his like BS relationship problems. What a little wuss." You hear him complaining, whining like a little girl. Let's go listen to it.
Yeah, it's amazing because really we all have these moments, you know. And really, it gives us an opportunity.
It is. I'm so grateful that I could talk to you about it.
Thank you.
And like be honest with you and real about it and look like a complete idiot.
But well done. So I guess this wraps up our first episode.
This was great. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
So we'll keep it going again.
We will. Thank you.
Yes. So if anyone watching, comment below. Reach out to us. Add anything, your insights, anything below. All right. Thank you.